we're trying something a little different. We're going to pull from the headlines what we're getting in our chats, what people are stopping me on the streets and saying, and things that have caught our eye, but may not rise to the level of pedigree topics. But these things are out there, and the reason that we're about to start spinning and talking about them is because they are being talked about at the water coolers, in the threads, and on these streets around the world. So we're just going to give you a light take on everything, but the first thing that has come across my headlines, my DMs, and has got my attention is Dana White initially calling Eddie Hearn a pussy multiple times, suggesting that Turkey has asked him if he wants to do a fight with Eddie. It's seeming like a joke because Eddie wasn't responding in kind. And then Eddie taking not only the challenge, but now spinning it on Dana after Dana looked to be backtracking, talking about, oh, we're going to be on the undercard, the deep undercard someplace, nobody wants to see it. It sounds like a dodge, sounds like a duck. It sounds like now Eddie has seen a crack in Dana's very abrasive armor and is calling him to the carpet. And I do believe Eddie is serious. Like, the one thing I think you can't do if you are a promoter of combat athletes, if you are a wrangler of these type of men that Dana White has in his stable and that Eddie Hearn needs the respect of, is back down from a fightable fight. If Oscar De La Hoya calls you out, you can be like, come on, guys. Can't do it. But if Eddie Hearn calls you out and you're the UFC, you're the MMA head boss, you're the guy, and people have seen you in the ring on the mitts, and you are the one who started calling people pussies, you're the one who started to try to emasculate homeboy, and he's like a suit-wearing kind of pretty boy, people don't look at him like that, you cannot have this guy call you to the carpet and you start waffling. I think this is this is a brilliant play from Eddie.
Yeah, you're making America look soft out here. No, but look, let me start by saying, when Dana says I'm a 56-year-old man, I'm not trying to fight anybody, right? I can empathize. I'm 34 years old. I'm not really trying to fight anybody anymore, okay? We get on here, we talk our shit, and, you know, that's actually an oversimplification. We try to give our best insightful and at times cutting truths as we see them fit. And I get pressed out here in these streets a lot more often these days since I give my opinion, right? I got to deal with it as it comes. At 34, look, if you throw hands my way, I'm not going to just curl up in the high guard. I'm going to shoot back at you and do what I got to do. I'm going to defend myself, but I'm not particularly trying to fight other grown men at my age, let alone if I was 56 years old, right? But I never have gone on this podcast about that action with the great Radio Raheem and said, so-and-so is a pussy, all right? And I'll fight him, all right? I never said, insert your favorite fighter or trainer or promoter here, insert their name here, they're a pussy, and yeah, I'll fight them. Now, if I did, and they said, okay, well, let's fight, and then I said no, then I'm bitching out. I'm bitching out, okay? Yeah, I'm writing a check with my mouth my ass can't cash, okay? And that is what has happened here.
If you did do that, Sean, if you somehow lost your ever-loving mind and called a professional fighter a pussy, and then he called you out and you declined, you'd get a pass. People would be like, you made yourself look stupid. Nobody would expect you to actually go through with anything like that, right?
I don't think I get a pass. They don't give me a pass for saying a lot less.
What I'm saying is that no one would expect you to fight a professional fighter, no matter what you said, right? Unless you were in public, put your hands on a guy, and the fight happened right then. But anything you say to a professional fighter is going to be immediately taken as, Sean's gone too far. And you'll get criticized as a pundit. The same, like I say, is true for either one of these guys. If it was De La Hoya, you got an out. Once a guy's a pro fighter, once a guy's even if he's not accomplished, if he's just a legitimate boxer, anybody who's not that has an out. Neither one of these guys is that. And the guy who I would suggest is wrangling the more, if not aggressive, the more kind of unpedigreed mentality, who needs to look more consistent with his bravado because he has an abrasive style, because he presents himself like a tough guy that will call you an asshole from the podium and, like seem like he wants to fight anybody who says anything that he doesn't like, and then goes so far as to repeatedly, not once it slips out of his mouth or in a moment of emotion or retort, calls this guy out of his name, but repeatedly calls him this derogatory term, which is emasculating, which is challenging his manhood, which is fighting words. Mm-hmm. You cannot have the suit, the guy who is more known for being
smooth London
with his way with words, and you know what I mean, like the way they handle their respective stables and their massive companies with all these aggressive combat athletes that must respect them or they can't do their jobs is like night and day. Their styles are night and day. But the guy who was looked at like the bully, if you will, the tough guy, the one who presents that way, cannot back down from a challenge he essentially put forward from the guy who seemed to be more of the boardroom kind of fast-talking Eddie. They call him fast-talking Eddie, some people here. And I only put it in that frame to give you the two brands colliding. Now, Eddie, every time he's on camera, someone's going to ask him about it, of course, because it's good content. He's not letting up the gas. And Dana White's already admitted that Turkey's down to put the money up. And the idea that the best thing you have to say is that, no one's interested? We all know that's cap. We all know that if that actually happened, you would scoff. I would have to call you up a couple of times during the week to get you to come on and talk about it, because you wouldn't want to. But it would be a hot ticket. People would tune in on both continents to watch these guys scrap. It would be, I would suggest it would be probably the biggest, what we would call a white collar fight over here that you could possibly have. There would be no bigger white collar fight, which means neither guy is a professional in any combat sport, that you would ever have seen. Dana cannot justify not having this fight based on what he considers to be low ticket sales or disinterest from the public. You're already capping. You're not. I can't wait to see how this finishes, because if he stays on this line, this is gonna end up like some Kendrick and Drake.
Well, okay, so you're talking about Turkey putting up the money, admittedly from Dana, right? And I've lovingly referred to the man for both of them as their sugar daddies, right? I'll dial it down a notch. This is like their uncle at the cookout bringing a pair of boxing gloves between two cousins and being like, all right, like, settle it. Settle it at the family function. But this would be, a fight. They should fight it out for Turkey's bottom line. They should be like, winner gets to blow more of his money. All right? Since we're both fighting.
Sure, where you were going with that one.
Pause. There's a pause in there. But yeah, let's fight over who gets to burn more of his money. Look, to use a modern term, he got his card pulled. Right? That's the perfect way to put it. He got his card pulled.
His card pulled. That's
He's
exactly
a pussy.
right.
He won't fight me. Yada, yada. Yes, I will fight you. Okay, now I don't want to fight. Okay, you got your card pulled. It happens. All right? It can happen to the best of us. It's happened to you in front of everybody. Okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, but then what do you take from it then? If
I take
you're
it
saying
from
he got his
that
card
Eddie
pulled,
Hearn is a minus, 300, 400 favorite. Eddie Hearn wins the fight.
Do you think Dana White's brand survives him publicly ducking a fight?
Of course. Nobody cares about anything anymore. You'll be fine. You'll be
I'm not so sure.
They don't know. You just wait.
But you have to think about how many guys that he has pulled, whose card he's pulled for not taking a fight.
I'm sure Andrew Tate still has people paying for his war room after he got smacked around by other guy. I can't remember right now.
The only thing worse than being Andrew Tate, talking the kind of shit he talked and getting beat up, is being Dana White, talking the kind of shit he talked and ducking a fight with Eddie Hearn.
That might be smart, though.
Worse.
Better than getting in there and getting your ass kicked. That might
it's
be smart.
Not. Because any fighter can respect that. But to say I'm not going, no sir, no thank you, not these boys on either the MMA or the boxing side. They not respecting that.
His company just got 80,000 people down the street from me to watch a bunch of fake, guys fake fight with paint on their faces and half naked.
Are we talking about WWE?
Yes. It is not hard to get over the bullshit in today's society.
You might have just saved the whole lot of it. Dana needs to come to Eddie with a WWE contract. Make a moment like that. That's a side door. That would be, well, I would not accept it. It would be enough. It would be close enough to get over this hump. But I think he's cornered.
Eddie wouldn't go for it. No. Bollocks. I don't want a fake fight. I want a really fucking fight, Raheem. Yeah.
Well, listen, the whole point of this topic was to pull that impression out of you. Now we've done it.
Who do you got?
Well, at this point, I got Eddie for sure.
Yeah.
He's the only one who wants the fight. Yeah. And I think it would have to be a boxing match, right? There's definitely not going to be no MMA involved. And the boxing community would rally to Eddie's back. This thing would be huge. It would be huge. And the MMA community might rally to Dana's back, but I think he would have a higher hurdle. We would end up breaking this fight down. You know what I mean?
Look, the length of Eddie Hearn, think he's the youth, the height advantage. Yes. Look, this is what Eddie Hearn, this is what he would say and feel to us if he were on the show about the fight. Look, all due respect, Raheem and Sean. Do you remember a fight with me and Dana White would be the opposite of 1776? The Brits are winning this one. Not bad news for you for the Yanks. Sean, I know you're a proud American. Raheem, you kind of jumped ship to our side. Fair enough. But it would be the opposite of 1776, mate. It really would.
2026.
2026.
The Revolutionary War of Boxing.
Yeah.
They are trying to take over the sport. They are trying to create their own independent nation. Whoa, we're right. This thing is writing itself. Yeah.
Hey, last thing on the Dana White topic too with Eddie. Shout out to my man Andreas Hale. They didn't let him cover WrestleMania. If anyone should be covering WrestleMania, it's our guy Andreas Hale. Okay, they denied him a credential. You's got a White House event. The First Amendment, not the second or the third one or the fourth, is freedom of speech. What are we doing here? You're over here, UFC 250, red, white, and blue, American Bald Eagle at the White House, and you just don't let him speak the truth. You don't give him his freedom of speech. Maron, Raheem. What's the matter with them? Eddie Hearn, get the fight done. Tell your uncle, tell your sugar daddy, get it done. Say, we fight for your affection. That's how this goes. There can only be one favorite son.
Love it. All right.
So, moving on to the next that Raheem sent to me. I'm putting this second on Raheem. It was more along the lines. Conor Benn apparently is going to ink a Zuffa extension. Raheem, feel like I've talked enough about Conor Benn for 5 years worth, let alone the last year. Look, no disrespect to the guy. Like Paulie Malignaggi would say, he's a decent fighter. He's a solid fighter. He's not a bad fighter at all. But, it's all... I remember when I got to bring back this scenario again. When I was getting ready to cover Pete Dobson and Conor's fight here at the Cosmo 2 years ago, I would go up to my wife Samantha and I go, Conor Benn, Conor Benn, Conor Benn. In other news, Conor Benn, Conor Benn, Conor Benn, Conor Benn. And I go like Jesus, he is the biggest. Like what? You get the joke, right? It's like it's like I feel like it's just so much hoopla over this guy. And he was on First Take with Stephen A. Smith in the interview you sent over. And first of all, this is how media works. Stephen A. Smith, Nick Khan was his agent, so that's the hookup there. Have Raymond Ford and Oshaki Foster on First Take, okay? That is an excellent fight between two excellent fighters. I'm going to go out to Texas for that fight because it's such a just good boxing matchup. There are a dime a dozen more deserving fighters to be on First Take, but because they share similar people in their sphere of influence with TKO and Ari and Nick Khan, Conor Benn's on First Take, and Stephen A. is giving them some publicity, some PR, really. And shout out to Stephen A. Smith. A lot of people, they don't like Stephen A. Smith in boxing. I remember Stephen A. Smith on Quite Frankly in the mid-2000s talking about Bernard Hopkins, Jermaine Taylor, and that was the only place you were going to find any talk about that fight, or a lot of boxers on ESPN, is when Stephen A. had his own original program 20 years ago. So and Stephen A's been a friend of boxing a number of times. He interviewed Terrence Crawford in the locker room after he knocked out Spence. So this isn't to join on that kind of dogpiling on Stephen A. I like Stephen A. Smith, but he's doing PR for Dana White and Conor Benn in the interview you sent over. And Eddie Hearn has a raised eyebrow about this. He's questioning, was that really a one-fight, $15 million deal as reported that I couldn't match because Zuffa was nowhere to be found in the fight with Regis Prograis? And it's funny hearing Stephen A. Smith in the segment go, this is the man who's going to bring the fights we really want to see. And it's like, bro, he just fought Regis Prograis in a 10-rounder in Regis Prograis' last fight ever in a ho-hum fight. That's not the fights everybody wants to see anyways, but go on, Raheem.
I don't begrudge Stephen A. Smith his place in boxing. It is a shallow take that you will most often get from him. There's room for that. He is a stylized type of pundit, which I mean that there's a way he presents that is a lot of the brand. And in other sports, maybe there's greater depth, but in boxing in particular, not so much. This interview on ESPN, First Take, felt like an 18-minute commercial. And it's the same mistake they're making on the Zuffa broadcast. We see through this. It doesn't play well. One of the brand stars, I guess, that Stephen A. Smith has is that he will say the tough thing. That he will ask the tough question in other sports. I've seen highlights of him doing these rants. There's a lot of meat on the bone if you got Dana White and Conor Benn sitting in front of you together right now. If you are really that guy. Right? And with all the yelling and the antics and the rants and the, so-called truth-telling, to be in that moment and just be a head-nodding yes man and a hype man, really, is so weak sauce content. Forget about journalism out the window. It's just weak sauce, bro. It's like, this is embarrassing. How do you guys not see what this looks like? Because everyone else can see straight through it. you got Dana White sitting there, once again, shitting on boxing as an institution before he made his inroads in these last 4 Zuffa shows.
With the same repeated lines.
The same lines that Stephen A. Smith, if he wants a place in this sport, should push back on. Or at least make Dana justify with some real questions. The kind that you asked at the Crawford-Canelo press conference. You can't sit there with Conor Benn and talk about how no one has any vision in the sport of boxing until you arrive with Zuffa 1, 2, 3, and 4, that promoters aren't making any fights. He actually said that he's made more fights this year, boxing matches. He said fights, but he was referencing boxing matches, than all the other promoters combined. Bro, there's more fights last weekend than 4 Zuffa. And Stephen, yeah. Like, who are you guys talking to? If all of this lack of vision and zero entertainment and no fights, well, you know what, Connor? That includes Fight of the Year last year. He's talking about you, actually. And possibly your most lackluster performance, certainly since those 2 fights with Eubank, was your Zuffa match. That's that fight that got you the most criticism, actually. The fact that Stephen A. Smith is sitting there, not addressing the Matchroom controversy, not addressing, more importantly at this point, the $15 million for the 1 fight, and now this 5-fight extension, essentially the day after, and the smell test certainly not being passed on that. Like, I understand their relationship with ESPN, and I understand their relationship with Stephen A. Smith, but if Stephen is going to be in the sport of boxing as a pundit with his brand, to sit there and not ask any of those questions, and even at one moment say, well, you know me, I want to know who your next fight is. Like that's the tough question.
Stephen A. That's so bad it's good, Stephen A. I'm trying to counter with my own bad Stephen A in a minute.
Yeah, I didn't even realize I was doing an impression. I was most embarrassed for Stephen A. I was expecting that from Dana. At this point, Conor Benn is through the looking glass. He is on the other side of the Rubicon, right? He's just gonna play his role. He's happy to be on ESPN. He's got WWE branding behind him. Dana White sitting next to him.
He said like 25 words. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so unserious. It's so unserious. And I don't think anyone's buying it. I'll give you one more because I know I'm kind of filibustering now. But the co-host, I'm sorry, no disrespect, I don't remember the woman's name who's the co-host there. But she was like, so I'm being told that you have a big announcement for us, Dana. He was like, do I? And he was like, is she, in a moment before she could catch herself, was like, well, is this it?
I didn't even realize that. All right, well, so
yeah, this is it.
This is it. But the 5-fight extension. Come on, this is the fucking big announcement. Yeah, but so one thing though, when he talks up the middle class, he would make a great late 1990s Al Gore, Bill Clinton era Democrat politician. Dana White, he would. We got to give him that. Okay.
Well, who is he? Is he talking up the middle class?
Yeah, you didn't hear that part. He's like, "There's never been a middle class in boxing. The middle class."
Oh,
Like, oh, with the
Go
free
on.
health care for the fighters in the middle class, you sound like Joe Lieberman. You would be his guy. That's before my time. Am I right? Does that sound like a familiar pitch?
Yes, except for it sounds more to me like a trickle-down economic. Because that is what you're selling UFC fighters, and just like the Reaganomics.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
So I would say that's actually more of a mid-'80s Republican pitch.
Okay, they all morph into the same, Raheem, as you've probably found out better than me over time. But so yeah, what Stephen A. could have done is not. Now look, I know Conor Benn's box office. I know he's a bad boy and all that, but.
Don't let me stop you.
But he's like, but one thing I gotta know, Dana White, is Eddie Hearn's talking about you. He's talking about he wants to fight. He's talking about he wants to get busy. So, what are we gonna do there? What's the story there? I'm trying to know if Dana White's gonna fight. It's like, if you want to go viral, you should have asked him that. And
there's so many questions.
And Conor Benn, again, I know you're a bad boy, and you've obviously overcome your suspension and done all that. And in respect to you, I saw the fight with Chris Eubank Jr. I thought it was the fight of the year, and I thought you won that fight and clearly dominated him in the second one. But there are still pundits and people out there who feel you are not fully proven and have cleansed your name of the controversy surrounding yourself.
Bro,
could have asked them about that.
Do another Tropic Thunder, I will storm the gates of the studio to get you in.
You could have said, asked him about the PED history, and do you still feel like you need to clear your name by fighting Ryan Garcia and passing all the drug tests and all that? He could have done that. All that stuff would have been fun. And Dana, Eddie Hearn's putting on a big show, but Jaron Boots Ennis, I think he's absolutely spectacular. I think he might be the next Terrence Crawford. He's fighting at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. I'm pulling up there. Are you putting on shows that big, Dana White, in year number one? He could have done all that.
He could have done his job.
I know, I'm sorry.
Maybe not as well as you, but he could have done his job, Sean. If there was ever a tape that a broadcaster needed to review, it was that.
Hey, Stephen A., I'm only able to do a decent. It was decent, right? It was decent.
That's incredible.
It's because I fuck with Stephen A. Smith. As a matter of fact, I picked him from the choir. I remember thinking as like a 13-year-old, I said, who the two best talents on this network are? Is a guy by the name of Max Kellerman on the Around the Horn at the time, before Tony Reale took it over, and Stephen A. Smith. And what do you know? They became partners and became masters of the universe of sports media. So, hey, I say it, I do that impression with love and everything. But you could have asked that. You could, and there you go. All right, so moving on to the next one.
It's just that interview was a bit of trash television. That was like a poor reality show promo.
Well, it works. Here's the thing: it's a TKO property, and it works in wrestling. It's been shown to work in wrestling. Boxing is a different beast. HBO and Jim and Larry, who just got that award, Lifetime Achievement Award from Ring at the Writers Association, or not Writers Association, the Ring Awards, right? The great Larry Merchant. He said, we thought we wouldn't insult the audience's intellect, and we thought sometimes the best way to tell the story and sell the show was to tell them the truth, that this fight isn't particularly good. This broadcast we're about to watch the fight that we didn't really ask for. And we think telling the truth in that story is actually compelling, will actually make adults stick around and tune in. But if you come from the world of wrestling, always just telling them he's a superstar, it's the greatest WrestleMania ever, every single year, it works. And so maybe they got to find out, we got to see, maybe it ultimately will work in boxing. We got early returns. We don't know yet.
It will not. It will not. The boxing audience
Jake Paul works in boxing now. It is a different world than when Larry was talking, unfortunately.
But even what Jake Paul brings, we know what it is. We're not deluded about what it is. And to be fair, he presents it better than than Zuffa is presenting the product.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I guess you're saying, in that WWE is scripted reality. It is sports, it is athletic, but it is not competitive, and it is not real combat. It is real athleticism, and it is a sports entertainment. This is the feel that Zuffa keeps reestablishing, even though they're in the real combat competition business. That is going to, it's already worn thin. And to me, that is going to, if they continue down this road, missing this, having this blind spot, it's going to create a plastic over the product, something like your grandma's couch. You know what I mean? It's not it, bro. It's going to stick to your skin, and when it gets hot, it's uncomfortable, and it doesn't look real, and you're preserving a product that doesn't need that kind of protection. Real boxing doesn't need that plastic veneer. It's real. WWE needs a plastic varnish because there's something to protect that is like your grandma's couch. You can see the pattern, but you can never spill anything on it. Like, because it'll stain. You cannot approach boxing like it's WWE. That's what I mean when I said on a previous broadcast about letting the grass grow through the concrete and trusting that it'll be there when the sun is shining. That AstroTurf nobody wants to play on. Boxing creates natural narratives, natural rivalries, real drama. It creates it authentically and organically. This kind of propaganda, really, is going to wear thin so quick. And if it becomes the way we perceive your product this early and this often, it's going to be a lot harder to come back from that. And it's a major disservice to the competitive combat athletes that are in this real sport with real narratives, drama, and authenticity. You're doing it a disservice.
Yeah, plastic couches. You brought back memories on that one. I'm happy that's not really a thing anymore.
Well,
is it still?
It is now.
Yeah, right. They brought it back.